be the change that you want to see. So you want to see a change. And the change that you want to see, usually, not always, but oftentimes, it's something that you want to have or do that's different, right? So if I want $1 million, I want to have $1 million. If I want a new car, I want to have the car. To, uh, if I want to learn, if I want to have some new skill, I want to do that skill. So either usually the focus is on what I want to have or do. And what's often overlooked is that in order to have or do something, you first have to be that, which allows you to have or do. Because those people who are consistently able to express in certain ways are able to do that because that's who they are. And I talked about this, I think, last week. So if you want to have wealth, then you want to behave in wealthy ways. And in order to do that, you need to be wealthy. It's not that you couldn't pull it off short term without having the identity of being wealthy, but if you don't, then it will be short term unless something changes. In order to sustain that, you need to, because in order to have the wealth, you need to behave in ways that are congruent with that. And in order to consistently behave in those ways, you need to have the identity of being wealthy. And this is true of all of anything that you want. So if you want health, then you have to behave consistently in ways that are congruent with that. And in order to do that consistently, you have to have an identity as being somebody who is healthy. If you want to experience, or let's say have loving relationships, then you need to behave consistently in ways that are congruent with that. And in order to do that consistently, you need to have an identity as being somebody who is both loving and lovable. Try and do it some other way, and it won't work. If you can manage that and prove it to me, please do, because it would be news to me. But as far as I am aware, that's the only way that it works. Again, long term. I'm not saying that you can't get short term experiences and results. It's just that in order to have them long term, if you want to sustain those things, then it has to be based on an identity. So to be the change that you want to see is, I think, very good advice, because it's putting the cart and the horse in the right order. If you just want to have the change without being the change, then you've got the cart before the horse. And that will not work long term. But if you put things in the right order, then you can have sustained results. And what's really important about that is, if we put this in the context of the intention of this meeting, is that helps you to learn much more efficiently and get much better feedback so that you can gain much more self-knowledge. Because if you think about it, how many of the same things have you been trying to sort out for how long? I mean, isn't it a lot of the same things that you've been struggling with for years, decades? For most of us, that's the truth. For most of us, we've been struggling with the same things. We can trace many of these things that we're still struggling with back to our childhoods, and even further back than that. You know, a lot of these things are like ancestral roots and all kinds of things like that. So there's these same patterns are repeating over and over and over and over. It's almost as if we haven't learned. And if that's the case, then it seems to me that it's time to start to learn. And what I'm proposing is a more efficient way to do that, because if the way that we've been doing it was going to work, it probably would have worked by now. And so the fact that it has not worked satisfactorily up to now could be some good motivating factor for starting to do things differently. And so I'm proposing that being what it is that you want is a good place to start, instead of trying to achieve the external thing, hoping that that's going to give you what you actually want. So here now I'll propose to you an approach. So I'll actually guide you through a process that you can use. So this will only work if you know what you want. So if you don't know what you want, then you'll have to do the first thing first, which is get clarity about what you do want. But if you do know what you want, then you can actually go through this process as I guide it now, and then you'll see how this works. So if you have many things that you want, just choose one to start with, because you can really only do one thing at a time consciously. And what we're going to be doing is conscious, so you have to focus on one thing. So just choose one thing. And if you have any resistance to that because there's some part of your brain that says, oh, but I don't know which one to choose, they all seem so important, just let yourself know that any one of them will do. It's fine. Just choose one, and then you can loop back around and apply the same process to the others when you would like to. But in order for it to work, you have to just choose one thing to start. So just choose one thing of the things that you want. And if you say, well, I'm not 100% sure that I really want that thing, that's okay. For this process, this will still, what I'm going to guide you through will still work. So you can still do the process. So just choose one thing that you want. It could be some kind of material thing. You want the house or the car or the money or the career, or you want to, to publish a book, or to make a painting, or to sell a painting, or to have some kind of show or production or performance. You want to uh, star in a Hollywood film, or you want to get married, or you want whatever the thing is. So it could be any kind of thing. Now, imagine yourself having that. Imagine yourself achieving that. So for this, it's really important that you're actually imagining, like as if you were watching a movie of yourself having this achievement or accomplishment or whatever it is that you want. And so for many of you, you'll be able to do this straight away. And if that's you, then that's fantastic. Sometimes what will happen is you'll notice that you kind of struggle to imagine it. And if you're struggling to imagine it, then I'm going to share with you something that will be helpful to you so that you will be able to imagine it. And if you're able to imagine this thing now, what I'm going to share with you is still going to be useful for you, because at some point you're going to use this process with something where you're likely to struggle to imagine having the outcome that you want. So if you struggle to imagine the outcome that you want, then of course, consciously, you want the thing that you want, right? So you consciously, you want the thing that you want. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten to this point, right? So consciously, you identified that you want this thing. But if you're having some resistance, then unconsciously, there's some part of you that resists that. First of all, it's important to understand that all parts of you are working toward the same fundamental goal, which is we could say, to be happy, to know love, to know peace, to know harmony, to experience wholeness and oneness. So all parts of you are working toward that same goal, but sometimes different parts have different strategies. So this conscious part of you wants to accomplish this thing, but there's some unconscious part that has some different idea. And usually this is because of some prior experience or experiences you may remember, you may not remember, in which this part learned that achieving those things might be problematic in some way, might be in some way perceived as a threat to this other thing that you value that's important to you. So just acknowledge that, and then just ask this part, what is it that you want through this resistance? Or what is your positive intention with this resistance? And just notice whatever comes up straight away. So don't censor yourself. Maybe it makes sense to you, maybe it doesn't make sense to you consciously, but just don't censor, just acknowledge whatever comes up straight away. And more often than not, it's because this part wants to protect you from something. Oftentimes it's because the part says, well, maybe if I had that, then maybe I would look foolish, or if I had that, then maybe I would fail, or if I had that, maybe I would get hurt, or if I had that, then maybe it would be too difficult, or something like that. So you just want to ask and find out whatever it says, and then just ask this part, if you had that, whatever that is, so if you had the protection or if you had the whatever this part is wanting to accomplish through the resistance, what would that give you? You're just going to keep asking that question of whatever the response is until sooner or later, this part's going to let you know what its real intention is. So it has this chain of strategies, but ultimately its intention is something like love or joy or happiness or peace or freedom, abundance, clarity, connection, something like that. And when you discover what that is, then you can just ask that part, if this part can see the possibility that what you're wanting consciously might possibly be compatible with whatever this intention is. Okay, so if the intention is, let's say, the intention of the resistance ultimately is love, let's say, you would say to this part, is it possible that there might be a way in which achieving this thing that I want could be compatible with love? Maybe not in the way that you've been thinking about it, but is it at least possible that there could be some way? And more often than not, the answer to that will be yes. Then you can just make an agreement that you're only going to consider those ways of achieving what you want that are compatible with that intention, love, harmony, peace, joy, whatever it is. And this will help to relieve the resistance. So once you've done that, then again, you could imagine achieving whatever it is that you want, whatever that is. Whether it's dancing on Broadway or publishing your book or having a child or getting married or having $1 million or, hiking Mount Kilimanjaro or whatever the thing is that you want. And it doesn't have to be big. It's whatever is just true for you, big, small, medium, whatever's true for you. And just imagine that. Again, like a movie, like you can see yourself achieving that, having that. If there's still any kind of resistance, you can go through that same process again. So there may be some other part of you that has some other resistance. So you just go through that same process. It usually does not happen, but if on rare occasions there might be multiple parts that have resistance, you can resolve those. And eventually you'll be able to imagine yourself having or achieving or doing the thing that you want. And now here's the important thing. Notice when you see yourself having or doing what it is that you want, notice who that person is, that version of yourself. And notice that that version of yourself is different than how you've been conceiving of yourself now. So notice that that version of yourself is connecting to inner resources and expressing qualities. Just notice what those are. So you might notice, for example, that version of yourself is connecting to and expressing joy, peace, happiness, connection, love. I don't know what that is for you. I'm just giving you examples. So just notice those qualities and those inner resources that version of yourself is connecting to and expressing. And now here's the important thing is that that's who you need to be in order to achieve that. So a lot of the time we think when I achieve the thing, then I'll become that person. But it's not so. When you become that person, you'll achieve the thing. And even more important is this, that when you are that person, whether you achieve the thing or not, you're fulfilled. Because sometimes we still want the thing. And sometimes once we become that person, we realize we didn't even want the thing after all. So getting the thing, having the thing, doing the thing is secondary. It's a secondary importance. The main, most important thing is who you need to be in order to be able to achieve or have that or do that. Now you have a picture of yourself, the version of yourself that you need to be in order to achieve what it is that you want. So now be that person starting now.